Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hedin, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in always sunny Mesa, Arizona. With me this week is president of Laticrete North America, Ron Nash. We will let him introduce himself in just a minute. I want to encourage everybody to learn while you earn. Floor Academy is here to help you get from owning a job to owning a business, and from owning a business to owning an asset. I want everyone to be able to free up their time and actually be able to enjoy the things in life that you do. It's funny what happens when you start off as an employee and you say, I'm going to go out on my own. Well, you didn't realize that you had to become the marketer and advertising and scheduling and operations, and you get 8,000 hats instead of wearing one hat. And then you have no time. And so the thing that you did to free up time takes up more time. Oddly enough, that's what Ron and I are going to talk about this week. Before we jump in, this should be airing. May 25th this should be airing, which means you have 6 days left to go to the Floor Academy group, get in there, find the post where I talk about better tools and their 36-inch tile cutter that, if you are watching on the Floor Academy group or the YouTube video, is behind me. You can win this. They gave it to me at Coverings. I want to give it to you because I don't do tile and somebody needs to put it to good use. So go over there, find that post, go like the Better Tools page. We're going to compare notes on who can follow directions. Put your name in a hat when you like both places. We're going to draw a name from a hat on June 1st, and it could be you. So get that 36-inch tile cutter. It's pretty sweet. A big thing that people ask about. You can see the cutting wheel on it. It's not hidden by anything. So I hear that's a good feature. Ron, give us a quick introduction. Welcome back yet again. But for those who don't know you, who are you? What do you do? And then we can jump into it.
So my name is Ron Nash. I am the president and chief operating officer of Laticrete International for North America, which consists of the United States and Canada. I have worked for Laticrete for 17 years, almost 18 years. And I've had a lot of jobs inside that. Today, we're going to talk about some things that I've learned along the way and systems that I've developed, and hopefully get people kicked off on some new ideas that they might start working on some personal productivity stuff. So it's a big deal.
Well, and you look, I just commented last night on a post where you were doing, here's this thing that I'm doing. It's like, where do you come up with the time, right? You were out somewhere running a leaf blower. And I'm like, he just posted 5 different sketches. He's running a leaf blower. He's the president of a multinational company. Where do you have the time? I think you're either in Harry Potter universe and you've got the time spinner thingy that lets you go backwards, or you somehow have extra hours in a day.
Yeah. Well, I don't have extra hours in a day. And I don't do a lot of time management.
Okay.
In fact, that whole time management thing kind of triggers me because you don't manage time. Time is a constant. My watch is going to continue to click. You don't manage that. This is a constant. The only thing you can manage is your activities. And the first thing you start to realize is that, okay, I have life credits that we as humans have segmented into 1 minute or second increments. I only have so many of those. So my activities need to be managed and my behavior needs to be managed. And if you start off with that, then that naturally is going to flow into one of my favorite quotes by a guy named Jocko Willink, which is, and I'm thinking about getting a tattoo of it. It's this important: discipline equals freedom. So first and foremost, if you want to have a freer life, if you want to have time to sharpen your skills or try new skills or learn new skills, which is what a lot of people are seeing me do when I publish photographs that I'm trying to learn how to take pictures. All right. I'm trying to also learn how to revive a skill of drawing. I'm trying to get better at some of these things. Well, these are activities that I want to do. And so therefore I need to develop a system that allows me to have enough time credits in order to focus on them judge them, be better at them, all these other things, plus my professional life, plus my family life, plus all these things. So there's a lot of stuff in the world.
Well,
right?
can we break it down and make it really basic? Because I was thinking about this,
Sure.
knowing we were going to have this conversation. So
Yeah.
I think modern society, if you're going to talk about life credits, we're spoiled. And we have way too many, right? So when you break it down, right, I want to sleep, I want to eat, and basic human instincts, survive, reproduce. But go back 1,000 years, and that would have taken me all day to accomplish those few things. I would have put all my effort into getting 2 meals, maybe 3,
Totally.
and just trying to like build a house, all that stuff. And so, is everything a distraction? Or
Dude,
is
I
it?
love that you're starting here.
You know,
I love that you're starting here. I love that you're starting here. And the reason is those are the tools that we are actually working with. Human beings think that they're so evolved, like we're so fancy, but we're really not. We're just naked apes. And if you think about the tools at your disposal inside your brain, they were designed to do a couple things. Number one, keep you alive, right? You got to produce food for the winter. You got to, all the things you just said. Maslow's hierarchy of needs at the bottom of the pyramid, right? These are things that you're wired to do. What we're kind of approaching when we start talking about really having the luxury of managing your behavior and stacking things that you want to get done and all those, this is closer to the top of the pyramid, which is, that self-actualization. And I can tell you that you're never going to get to that top of the pyramid of really anything unless you figure out how to really manage a lot of these things. So I think it's really, really interesting that you start out that way. And I appreciate that you do, because I'd like to start out by saying everything I'm about ready to talk about is basic. I have nothing that I'm going to talk about that no one can't universally apply. Now, there's an advanced level that you get to, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But I'm going to start as if I am a one-man band in my company, and it's just me. Okay. And I just have my family and my professional life all working, and those are the hours that I'm working with. I don't have a team of 1,000 people that I got to worry about. I don't have an assistant and those kind of things. Okay, so we'll start there.
Okay, so before we jump in, it's
sure.
Staying along this line of like we're kind of spoiled. I think, right, like modern society has made it so much of like, hey, look, you can get things done so quickly. Like here's all these other things you can do. And if you there's a podcast I listen to, and the guy brings up constantly like the way video games are designed these days, like the war games or these strategy games, they feed a man's need to like accomplish something and conquer. But it's fake, right? You didn't really do anything except sit in front of a TV and go do it.
Right.
And now you've put 8 hours into it.
Or more.
Yeah, exactly. But in one sitting, right? And you haven't accomplished anything. And so you look at societies like Japan, where grown men are living at home without jobs, and reproduction rates are down and stuff.
Japan, you can go to Ogden, Utah, where I live, and find that.
Yes, you can.
It's ubiquitous, and I agree. Yes. Absolutely.
So is this like? It's weird, right? Like you said, we're so advanced, and yet it puts us further behind, in my opinion. And so the skills you're talking about, I hope make it so that we can go backwards. Now, granted, people look and they're like, well, Kyle, I don't know how you do everything you do. And I'm like, you make some sacrifices here and there, right? I did a delivery this morning. I already recorded one podcast. I went back out, did more deliveries. I'm doing the podcast with you now. And then I have a mastermind class later tonight. Maybe in there, I go talk with my son and my daughter for a minute, my wife. So
so this is where we start saying, okay, these maybes, these Sunday maybes, this is where people start to feel the sacrifice. And I can tell you one thing about human beings: they're not great at sacrifice over time. Okay. They're great at sacrifice if something is short-lived or whatever. But what I'm talking about is organization and a system that will unlock the ability for you to maximize your time, and not only maximize your time, actually do what you want to do. This is the part that I really feel bad for people, especially the ones who Our new, like, into the company, this is a training. One of the things we're going to be talking about here, this is a training that I give to a lot of employees, which is I want to help you unlock the creativity that's inside of yourself. And I want you to reduce your overall stress in life. Okay, this is my goal. The rest of what I'm going to tell you about is a roadmap to get to that goal. But it's going to be some of these things you're going to say, well, no crap, Ron. I mean, duh, everybody does that. Yes, that's true. In fact, most of the things that you learn that are really paradigm shifting in business are actually based on foundations of super common sense. It's just discipline equals freedom. You're having the discipline to have a system that allows you to achieve that freedom. And that's why I love that statement, because it's absolutely so true. But discipline to what? Now, this is where I start digging into the tools. Okay. This is where I can say, okay, this is interesting. Okay. So first and foremost, I want to give a quick bibliography for what I'm going to say. Okay. I did not create most of this. All right. So I don't want anybody to think that this is Ron Nash's system. It's not. I have the benefit of having some excellent training, and some of this training I'm going to deliver to you now. And I'm going to give you the source code. All right, that you can go and get this stuff yourself. I think everybody should look up or read or listen to a book called David Allen's Getting Things Done. I think it's absolutely foundational. I've been to their training live. I've been to their instructor course. I am a believer. All right, so I'm going to break down in the next little bit exactly what that is in a kind of an outline. And I'm going to talk about how I've tweaked those things for myself, and maybe some things that I've found that have been very successful as I've tweaked them. But I don't want anybody to think this is like from my, brain. It's not. But I can tell you that I've got what we would call black belt in it. And so I'm going to show you some stuff. Okay. And then you can judge for yourself. And also we were talking about putting in the show notes some links to additional information. And so there'll be some links to additional information. So I'm probably going to butcher a bunch of it, and you can get it from the courses.
Well, so the screen is small because we're sharing so much space, but if you want to try and share your screen as you go and show it, we can do that. Otherwise, in the show notes, I'm going to link a PDF that Ron's talking about, and then you can take a look at that and go from there.
No problem. I can do this without PDF. Okay. Trust me, we're good. All right. So first and foremost, I want to talk about tools right out of the gate. I am not selling day planners. I am not selling, I'm not selling Franklin planners. Remember the Franklin planner thing? Everybody, I want to be really organized, and here's how I get organized. I went to a seminar. They sold me a $350 planner, and then we learned how to do their system. Well, the great part about that is that saved a lot of professionals. A lot of people never had anything, so they got that, and it was their first touch on organization, and they became more organized, and it was good for them. So God bless them. That was a great thing. What I want to give you is I want something that I could drop you in the middle of the desert, and I could have systems very shortly that would still work, and that would actually be enduring and would last forever. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the main tools first. In version 1.0, the earliest version of this, you need to have a catcher's mitt for life. Think about how many ways people can contact you right now. Let's just think about it. Email, text message, Facebook Messenger, all of my communication tools at work, Salesforce, Teams, Zoom, and a partridge in a pear tree. I mean, there's so many ways you can get inundated, right? Okay. And that's before you start talking about the important stuff, like your wife comes by and says, hey, be sure and pick up ice for the barbecue we're going to, or whatever, which is also a thing, right? So every human being has a lot of inputs, and the inputs that we have wind up overwhelming us over time. If you have no system of catching those inputs, what happens is your mind is very much like a computer. Remember the computers we used to buy? Like, I don't know how old you are, but the first computers that my family bought had like 512 of RAM. And I remember I remember the guy at Radio Shack. It was a Tandy computer. I don't know if you guys remember those, but I'm going way back. But the guy at Radio Shack was like, 512, you'll never run out of this. You could put the whole Library of Congress in there. I mean, I remember him saying that. All right, well, your brain is pretty much like one of those computers. You have some random access memory. This is your short-term memory. And what will happen is, as stuff comes into your brain, your best intentions and your mind says, I don't want to let my friends down. So I want to do a really good job. And I want to retain these things, and I'm going to do it. So Kyle calls me up and says, hey, you want to go to a barbecue on Friday? And I say, yeah, I want to go to a barbecue on Friday. I'm going to be there. What did I just do?
Well, you made a commitment, but are you going to remember the commitment?
So you made a commitment. And so you know what that does? Your brain says, one little bite of information, I'm going to put that right there in my short-term memory. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know about you, but my memory is not as good as I want it to be. It's just not. Mm-hmm. So what happens is your mind holds on to it for a while, and then it starts putting it back in out of random access memory, which is not what it's called, by the way. But the point is,
yes,
out of RAM, okay, and goes into more of a long-term memory. And then what happens is, in your times between thoughts, okay, survival mechanisms actually cause random firing of loose memories. Have you ever had this? Like, here you are, your head hits the pillow, and then all of a sudden it's like, crap, I'm not ready for the barbecue tomorrow. And then your eyes snap open, and then what do? You start thinking, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this. And then before you know it, you're spinning on things, right? That is called stress. Stress is a function, one of the bits of stress. Stress is a very big topic, but one of the bits of stress is a function of having a lot of things in your life that aren't necessarily buttoned up or taken care of. All right, so the first and foremost, what I want you to do is develop a system to catch the things that happen in your life and a catcher's mitt. For me, I have found that, and I have a very specific protocol. I have this on me almost all the time. Okay. So I have this is a lectern, 1917 pocket size ruled notebook with a couple different things. It's got I bought a thing with a pen. This is it. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you just adopt this, you are 70% there.
Oh, it's a game changer.
It's a game changer.
Even just having, I'll try and keep track of projects in my head, right? And I'm like, okay, so I got to go over here, and then I have these deliveries. I have 2 boards in my kitchen, and I will neglect them sometimes. And it drives me up a wall. And immediately, the minute it all gets written down on them, so just immediate calmness.
Exactly.
You don't have to retain it.
What happens is, okay, so in your mind, let's break down what's happening psychologically. So if you say to me, hey, let's go Friday, 7:30, we're going to go to the movies together. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And I say, I'm going to be there. And I just, because of my habits, I pick up my pen and I say, Kyle, movies, 7:30 time. And I write that down. Now, your body, your brain actually gives you a little bit of dopamine. And that little dopamine hit is your mind's way of saying, thank you. Thank you for starting that task. Your mind actually believes that you started that task when you write it down. Now, what that does is it makes you feel like you're getting things done in the beginning, and that's a good feeling. And so what you want is your system to trigger that as much as possible. Mm-hmm. This actually becomes enjoyable, especially when you really start to develop the muscle, and it's very good. So this process has 5 steps, all right? Step number 1 is collect, all right? Okay. So you're continually writing things down in a trusted location. Now, some people, especially my younger people that I've done this training since, well, can I use my phone? Mm-hmm. Can I use my phone? I'll just use the note thing in my phone. I would say, yes, you can, with this one caveat and this one warning. I found that in meetings that I am with customers and with my employees, that they will accept a pen in my hand and writing things down on a piece of paper with less social friction than they will with a phone in my hand. Okay, so just as a word of warning, I don't care how you collect. I want you to trust your collection system. I see that there's a lot of beauty in using an electronic collection system. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But I think body language for me is more important in front of people that I'm working with. So yes. I have elected to go with this simple system.
And just knowing that us as humans, we're easily distracted, right? So that notification is going to come up from Facebook or Instagram or something. You're going to click on it. Now you're not in the notes anymore. Now you're off somewhere else. So I'm with you. Old school.
And
pen and
by
paper.
the way, that's the same reason why I don't wear an Apple Watch. I have owned multiple Apple Watches. Mm-hmm. I just cannot have one more thing buzzing and distracting and doing anything but telling me time in my life. That's my whole. Plus, I love watches, but that's not the way. All right, so stuff, random inputs from strangers, stuff. All right, so here's the deal: a catcher's mitt for stuff. Now, there are 5 steps. I'm going to go through those 5 steps. Ready? It is collect, process, organize, review, and do. Okay, so this is the filter. Okay, or the what do you call that? The flow, the process. Okay, but here's the deal. Each of these, depending on the nature of the stuff, could be super fast, or it could be more project oriented. Take more time. So as the diagram that we're going to post in the show notes, by the way, if you're listening to this and you've already downloaded or you've already clicked the show notes, that's great. What happens is the diagram that David Allen has put together starts from the top of the diagram and goes down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of walk you through some of his ideas. All right. So the idea is that you have a catcher's mitt. We've already talked about that. Mm-hmm. You've collected stuff. All right. So today I have collected 14 items. Okay. Which is actually quite a late day. All right. So I have 14 items. Now let's talk about processing. And this is where the magic starts to happen. All right. So every day I have, and this is up to you, I'm going to tell you what I do. I process my notes every night before I go to bed. That's me. Mm-hmm. All right. We're experimenting with moving it to another time, just simply because I feel like that's starting to trigger insomnia or trigger my problems with insomnia, which I do have. So I'm thinking about moving it to the morning of the next day. But the point is that on my schedule, I have something called a sweep. Okay. My sweep, I have got it down to 10 minutes. All right. Now let's talk about my calendar. The calendar is very important because this is when I start kicking in the electronic portion of a way to augment your brain. Okay. If Elon Musk was going to do this, he wants to put a chip right on your brain. And as soon as he can do that, I'm in. Because I want to bionic myself. But I'd like to bionic you without surgery, and here's how you do it. All right, so I've showed you my catcher's mitt. Here's my next big tool. My next big tool is my phone. Mm-hmm. And I use Outlook, but it doesn't matter what your flavor of calendar is. It's the same kind of thing. I would like you to start thinking about things in these terms. Is this something that is due by a certain day, or is this something that you're going to do on a certain day? Okay? Because how we handle those inside of a calendar are going to be 2 different ways. All right? If it's something that's due by a certain day, all right? So let's say Kyle says, hey, you're going to be on my show, but before you're on my show, I need your show notes, and I need you to get the show notes to me by next Friday. Mm-hmm. Okay? I would write that down as due by Friday, date, Kyle, show notes, whatever shorthand works for you. I'm not going to control your language, but I will tell you that the mistakes that people make in shorthand is later when you look at it, go, what was that? What is light beer? What does that mean? So you want to make it at least descriptive enough that you're not working really hard when you're doing your sweep. Okay. Mm-hmm. So try to be as clean as possible. All right. So I say show notes by Friday. That is something that's due by. So what I will do when I didn't have an assistant, so I'm going to talk about when I was personally managing everything. Okay. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When I was personally managing things, I would then go into my calendar and I would put an all day appointment, and it would be show notes due to Ken. And then I would put a reminder on for an appropriate amount of days before, maybe 3 days before.
Okay.
All right. And so what that does is, once again, now I'm taking that serotonin, that beautiful hit of dopamine that I just got, and I'm going to make that dopamine squared, because I'm going to use something that my mind can say, oh, I've got a reminder set for that. I don't have to worry about it anymore. And You know what your mind does? Takes that little bit of RAM and it gives it back to you. And how you use that RAM that's where the magic starts happening, because this is where your creativity comes in. This is where your problem solving gets better. This is where you're starting to free up time in your head to start solving problems. Even if that problem is, how do I manage my time better? Okay. So, all right. Now, it is very important that you do, as you're collecting things, that you give yourself these additional filters. 2 questions. 1, I go through this and I go, is this something that is actionable? Meaning, yes, I need to do something. Action is required in order for me to move the ball forward. Or no, this might be something that I'm picking up just for reference. Okay. So let's talk about no first. No is very easy. I like to use no when in context of email. When I'm doing an email sweep, by the way, I have a 0 unread email box every day. So I get my email box down to 0 every day for the most part. I won't say it's perfect, but for the most part.
Yes.
And I will tell you that if I have a lot of emails that go overnight mail, I call it, that is where my stress level kind of goes up. And that often happens during trade shows, like, because I don't have I'm not executing at trade shows. So that's that block of time that is just kind of random. And that makes my email box go up a little bit. Anyway, so in the context of email, here we are. I could easily, and this is why if you use emails to sell, be careful, because if you try to sell to me in an email, your subject line better be dynamite, because I'm going to tell you right now, I am reading 70 to 80 emails a day, and I'm usually deleting good 70% of those. All right. And this is how I do it. Well, this is how I did it when I was the only one reading my emails. You ready? Subject line. I obviously recognize the sender, recognize the subject line. I go on to the next. I don't recognize the sender. I don't recognize the subject line. Is this actionable or not actionable? Delete. And I'm going to tell you right now, I delete emails so fast, it's not even funny. So if you're trying to email me, and it's really important, be sure and give me a call. Because if you give me, so for example, if you give me an email that says, hey, Ron, how's stuff? I will not read that email. It will not make it through my feedback or my filter. It won't make it through. All right. Now, this created a little bit of a problem. So I have an assistant that helps me out now, but that's beside the point. I'll just, I'm going to say I'm an extremist. When I write a rule, I follow the rule. All right. So here we go. If it's not actionable, let's say I got an email and it's got a great bit of data in it and I want to reference that data later. All right. Now this is where my systems come in. I have created a place where I have files that are reference. So reference files, and that reference might be a reference file that I touch and reorganize once every quarter. Okay. Or once a month, depending. Or I might have a someday maybe file. So for example, let's say somebody's emailing me about the next new cool Leica camera or whatever, and super expensive. Someday maybe I might want to own those. And this is a really interesting bit. I'll put it in my someday maybe file. And I use Evernote for that. I have an Evernote system that is where I just simply take the email, forward it to my Evernote account, and it winds up staying there until such time as I organize my someday maybe. I organize my someday maybe once every 6 months. This is also where I do a lot of vacation planning and those kind of things. Okay. All right. The next one is sometimes I'll use my email system to defer a task or defer something. So I literally will delay sending an email to myself. I'll forward it back to myself 3 days from now, 5 days from now, 2 weeks from now. So there's a lot of different things. All right. So no action now. means that it's going to go into one of those filters, usually. All right? Meaning reference, just delete, notes to self, those kind of things.
Well, you're getting rid of to-dos. And that's, I've heard it explained another way, and the guy was talking, right? Like, you can give yourself like 3 actual things you need to get done in a day. You'll probably only ever get the first one, maybe the second one, but picking up milk on the way home, getting the dry cleaning, all those little, put your laundry in, right? Like, those are to-dos. And if you put them all on the same list, your brain automatically goes to the easiest things first. Check, 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 check. Oh, I felt so great. But then at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I didn't do anything.
But I didn't do anything important.
Correct. Right, so you're getting rid of all that stuff. You're delaying it until you actually, like, it matters.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Also, that's also called procrastination if you're not careful. So we're going to talk about, I'll talk about that in a second as well. Okay, so now I'm going through my sweep files. And my sweep files consist of my emails, usually my catcher's mitt, my text messages, those kind of things. I sweep those in the morning, make sure that I'm kind of calibrates where I'm at. All right. So now let's say I'm talking about things that, I've got something and it is actionable. When I pick up the task, I always think about picking it up physically. I look at it and I say, is this actionable? Yes. Now, this is where you start getting the discipline of what is a successful outcome for this task? Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. Today, we were talking about demonstrations. And when we do demonstrations at our trade shows, and we would like to have a better look and feel. So we're going to talk about getting some cool tools for our guys to use. We're going to talk about getting better wearables for them, making them, fit the part for what they're training. Okay, so great. So this becomes a little bit of a project, right? You got to think about it. What does successful outcome look like? All right. So I might want to know, okay, now I pick up that task and I say, do I do this now? Meaning, will this take 3 minutes or less that I could just do it right now? Or is this a task that's appropriate for me to delegate to someone else? Meaning, you know what? Rather than doing this myself, it's better that marketing or someone in marketing should help me do this. So I want to develop a team, maybe delegate to someone else to do this task. Or is there a better, more time appropriate way for me to handle this task? This is where I go back into my calendar and I say, okay, I have a bunch of office things. I would call them office things. I have a bunch of maintenance things that I need to do. I have to block time in order to execute those things. All right. I block time in these increments, right? I block time every day in my sweep. I'll try to look at my time that I've already blocked. My assistant and I have a meeting, and you can have a meeting with yourself, which says, where are we going to block time for? Meditation, personal study, tasks that I just need to get done. The cleanup, aisle 9 tasks. Go get sugar, go get coffee. Those kind of things. I still have to do those things too, man. That's my life as well. So I then, as I'm blocking time, I'm really now thinking about the increments of time. Okay, so now how long does it take me in order to do this? I want to set a goal to do this within X time. And then I also want to make sure that I'm planning enough rest in my time. So this time appropriateness is a very personal question. And at first, everybody that picks it up overschedules themselves every time.
Okay.
So when you first do this, you're going to overschedule. Understand that that's natural. So what you need to do is, what's the next action? Is it time appropriate? Do you delegate, or defer? Defer meaning, I'm not going to do this now. I'm going to do it. Okay, so now let me talk about something that's really important. There's many, many things that you could just do. They're like 3-minute tasks. If it's a 3-minute task or less, I try to do it immediately. If at all possible, I just try to get it done. Okay. All right. The rest of it, I get in my system. Okay, so I fill my trash can daily. When I'm done with the task, trashed. I love that feeling. It's like I'm next. I'm on to next. Yep. So you're a rolling stone. You're never stopping. All right. This is a system. It's a machine that you're building. Okay. So the next, okay, let's say you're going to do something that you're going to delegate. All right. When they give you an assistant, they don't teach you how to use one.
I've heard this before. Yes.
No, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Now I happen to have a professional assistant. She is fantastic. Her name's Terry. She's a pro. She is a serious pro. She's used to running people's lives. She runs my life like a Swiss clock. It's wonderful. That's why if you ever need to get a meeting with me, I will immediately tell you. And I'm including up to my wife. I will say, you need to get with Terry because I don't run my calendar. Now, this is something that I've delegated. And I want you to know it was not easy for me to do. I had to, there's a huge level of trust. There's a huge level of information. Having an additional filter, you better need it when you do it. And I did need it. I believe it.
I believe it.
Let's talk about let's talk about where I was before. Before I had it.
Let me jump in here real quick. Yes, we got to take one quick break.
Do it. It's a good time to do it.
The International Surface Event, the annual flooring, stone, and tile sourcing experience in Las Vegas, has a unique experience for the industry. Introducing the Surfaces Show Home, Caliboo Vineyard by Jennifer Farrell. Surfaces is working with design and TV host Jennifer Farrell to develop a 7,300 square foot show home in California. The home is under construction, but due to the technology from Visualizer Plus, you can experience virtual room reveals each month. Then, plan to view Caliboo Vineyard in person or virtually summer 2022 during the home tours. Visit www.Caliboo Vineyard now to sign up and join the journey. Check it out. It's super cool what she's doing over there. I saw her talk at Surfaces for briefly while I was getting ready to get up on stage and do mine. And she's doing some cool stuff of being able to actually show you like, hey, this is what the room's going to look like. And then lo and behold, the technology is getting really good. It turns out like that. I mean, they're planning out rooms in design software and the tile guide, like layout's already done. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Pretty cool stuff. All
that's
right.
so cool.
Back to it.
Technology. All right. So back to this. All right. So where are we at? Let's talk about the 5 again, and I'll tell you where we are on the journey. Okay. We already talked about collection. You're going to have a lot of those tools. Processing. We talk about the sweeps. We talk about, I could even give you some guidelines on sweeping. You want to make sure that you plan time to sweep weekly. A deep, thorough sweep weekly might take a half hour. 10 minutes a day usually is what you need just to go through your notebook, put it in your system. And then once again, I always use the same thing. If I could just make a calendar note or a task to do, I can do it in 3 minutes. I usually just do it right then and there. So it helps you continue the system moving. Okay. Now, one thing that I want to tell you, if you happen to be a smartphone user, most smartphones now have Siri or something equivalent that can do geofencing. Okay. Look up geofencing when it comes to a to-do list. So you can tell Siri things like, you can tell at the S lady, if I say it too loud, you can tell like, hey, remind me to kiss my wife when I get home. And when you get back home, it will pop up a to-do thing that says, kiss your wife. So it's pretty cool. So if you think about that, I could say, remind me when I get to work to get my, notepad off the counter or whatever. And when I pull into the employee parking lot at Laticrete, it will pop up a reminder and say, when you get inside, do this. So there's a lot of cool technology. So don't be afraid of automating your reminding system. And don't be afraid to have things buzz and bing and do all that, because that is basically like putting your system on bionics. Okay. So do that. And of course, all the privacy, you don't have privacy anyway. So
that's a different conversation. Yourself. We're not going to go down that road. That's a different
conversation. All right. So here we go. Now we are do, delegate, defer. We're to the organize phase, right? Organize. All right. Someday, maybe. Reference files, we talked about that. I use Evernote for those things. All right, we talk about project lists. You guys will certainly know about project lists. Any contractor that I know of has great project lists. I suggest that you look at automated those as much as possible. There's some great technology out there that will help you with reminders and task scheduling and reminding employees and clients, those kind of things. So look into project lists and all the ways you can automate those. I would do that immediately. That's an aside. I don't use that. I use a different system. But now, things that you've delegated. This is where I was going to talk about before.
Yeah.
Anything that I've delegated, I put into a waiting for file. Okay. Most of the time, people that delegate things, they just kind of fire and forget it, and then they're let down and they're disappointed a whole lot. Okay, because either they didn't delegate with the correct words, which is usual, meaning people really didn't know that they owed you whatever, or they didn't get a solid commitment, meaning, hey, Kyle, can you have that to me by Friday? And you say, yeah, sure, whatever. And Friday comes and goes and you didn't have it.
Yes.
Okay, so that delegation file is really important. For me, I use a to-do list. It's called .delegating or .waiting for. My .waiting for file, I use a dot so it goes to the top of my list. Okay, so my .waiting for file, and I put a reminder. If it's a project that we're on together, I will say, okay, here's what I want to delegate to my team. And then I put little reminders on there, and it will come up on Thursday. And it's not that I'll pester you, but I might send a text message. Hey, Kyle, we got that meeting. Is everything cool? And you'll say, everything looks good. It's just a way that it helps me make sure that my teams are all synchronized. Okay.
Yes.
That waiting for file. Obviously, I use my calendar. I use the day look, the week look, the month look, the quarter look, the year look. I use all that.
Okay.
I use to do in my phone. That to do with Siri, as I was talking about, I use that, which is really great. And then I use other filing systems, maybe physical files that I have in my office for hard things that I might, like papers that I might want to keep, or, those kind of things. So that's basically my entire system. I really don't have anything else. And the reason is I want my stuff to be as digital as possible because I'm always on the go. All right. So if people mail things to me, Terry will open my mail and say, hey, I've got something. I'm going to go ahead and put it in your waiting for box or whatever. So she knows what my system.
Or she's scanning it and sending it to you. Like you're going to get it if you need it. Yeah.
I'm going to get it if I need it. So the killer part here is you don't have to have an assistant to make that happen. All you need to do is make a commitment and decide how you're going to use the tools. So the organization is two parts: what tools, and then making a commitment that you're going to use those tools in the rules that you set forward.
Yes.
Okay. Meaning, I'm going to use this notebook in order to capture my life's action items. That's what I'm going to do. So my commitment is, unless it is something that is purely recreational and it's inappropriate for me to have this in my back pocket, I will have this on my person or close to me. I've literally had people make fun of me. I've had it on me so much. Okay. I got this from Henry Rothberg, by the way. HBR, Henry Rothberg. When you got hired back in the day, he said, as a Laticrete employee, you always have a pen and a paper in your hand.
So you said you will sometimes get rid of it. When are you getting rid of it? I mean, at like normally, you go to a wedding with the wife, right? You go on a date with the wife.
Even then, man. I mean, it becomes like my whoopee, right? It's like I feel good when I have it around. And when I don't have it around, I feel like that fan. I'm like, oh, crap. And listen, I will tell you that I sweep this and I also digitize it. I digitize it once a quarter just in case I lose it. So I give it to Terry, and Terry digitizes it and puts it in my Evernote. So I have notebooks digitally for years, decades of notes. So there you go. All right. So now we're through the organization part. So collect, process, organize, review. Now, this is where the discipline comes in. And this is where you have to get yourself a commitment. All right. If you're going to do something, this is where people fall down. You ready? Review. Daily, here is what the minimum that I review. I review my previous day's notes normally. Okay. I make sure that my page is set up for today, meaning it's dated on my paper, where I always do. I do the date. I do the location that I'm at. So if I was in Bethany, Connecticut, it would be Bethany. And sometimes I try to do the header of the meeting that I was in. So I'm in, and that's it. The rest of it, I write chicken scratch, hieroglyphs. I draw pictures. Doesn't matter. Okay. This isn't art class. This is just a tool. Okay. So I review my calendar every day. I review my calendar weekly for the month. Okay. So you're always trying to give yourself a radar, right? And think about the radar like I'm pinging on a radar. All right. So daily ping, it'd be my first ring of the radar.
Yep.
Okay. Weekly, it might be out to that 50-mile range, right? Monthly, I might go out a quarter. Okay. So I'm getting that larger radar ring. And then at least once a year, I have a correlation meeting with my wife. I do a goal setting process. I do all those things. And I usually do it at my cabin or somewhere where I'm off the grid, I'm gone. And I will then go through a very, very long, sometimes painful dump of everything that I wanted as a goal, where I am, how we're doing, what goals I want to set. I do that annually. I can't afford to do it more than that, but I would if I could.
Well, and so that's being done on I'm assuming you have the personal level you're doing that on with your wife and your family, but then you're also going and you're having that happen professionally as well with, the board members and the C-suite and then direct reports. And yes,
professionally, it's quite rigorous, but that's part of my job. Now I'm just talking about personal right now. And my suggestion for people is this: start with the most important first. And for me, I tell all my employees this too. So I'm not talking out of school. I want you to schedule your life first. Time with your wife, time with your kids or significant other. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. Yes.
Time with your significant other, time with your kids, vacations, all of those things. These are really important that you get those on your calendar annually as far out as possible. Okay. If you do that, and I'm talking about like baseball games. I'm talking about, even though I traveled as much as I did when my kids grew up, I saw a hell of a lot of soccer games, baseball game, or not baseball. My kids don't play baseball, but soccer, lots of soccer, tons of soccer. I was there because I scheduled and planned to be a dad.
Yes.
This is great. This is crazy. I realize this is crazy talk.
Well,
but you have to put it in a system.
We do what's important to us, right? So if I put it down on paper and I write it down, that's more important. And I think once again, we go back to at the very beginning, it was like, hey, I'm going to own, all of a sudden I'm owning a job and I'm doing 8,000 tasks and I put all of them down that I need to take care of these people and their things. And I start neglecting my family. Whereas it like you said, if I start with my family, I can schedule the other stuff around it. We have more than enough time. You might have to give up TV. You might have to give up you're going to have to pick and choose here, folks.
You have all the time. You have all the time you need. And time is so desire dependent. It's not even funny. I'll give you a great example. How many times did I go to, just, you feel like you have no time, but yet a great concert comes up. Oh, I can go. I'll figure out a way to do it.
Exactly. You do what's important.
You know what I'm saying? And you figure out a way to do it, and somehow you get it done, right? Well, here's the thing: the better your system is, the looser your system is, and the more flexible your system is, the less guilt you're going to feel for moving things, not doing them. You just physically move them. So, for example, I could look at Friday. And I could have a friend call me up and say, hey, man, we're going to go do this epic thing. It's life-changing. I can go, I'm in, because my system is built flexible on most things. So I can say, okay, I'm going to move this here. I'm going to move this here. I'm going to move this here. And I know that I'm going to execute with just as high a quality of execution when I do it. And I've given myself the gift of flexibility.
Okay. So earlier when you were talking, you review with Terry every morning that, hey, where's my meditation time? Where's this? You don't have it booked like every day is like from 12 to 12:30, Ron's meditating in his office.
Not all the time. I do a lot of, so I'm traveling and I've got a lot of different commitments when I travel, right? So that it's not, I actually dislike these reoccurring things that people do in their calendars.
Okay.
Because it turns into white noise. I had a guy I was training on this, and a lot of times when we were training, we would share each other's calendars, right? Okay. And I would look at the calendar and I'd say, let's go through your Outlook here. Let me see what you're doing. And he had 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups every single day, right?
Yep.
And I was like, I love this. You're planning time to get healthy. This is great. Did you do it?
No.
Okay. And the reason why you didn't do it is because humans don't work really well with reoccurrence. Okay. Because too many distractions come up and pop up. So what I like to do is be thoughtful about what I'm going to do. And I might know that on Tuesday, I'm just not going to get any meditation time now. It's the way it works.
Yeah.
So I know that I want to move that time to another spot. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to move it to another spot. And there's some times that I just can't do that. I'm very goal oriented in life personally. And so I also do a lot of goal setting that way. And my goals, I break down into time increments, and those time increments get thrown into the calendar. People are like, how is it that you can draw every day? Well, I can draw every day because I've found pockets where it's time appropriate for me to do so.
Yes. Yes.
And I've also blended drawing with meditation. So feel free to be innovative. Feel free to collapse tasks and bring them together and do hybrid tasks, because you might unlock something that is really cool. Within this particular case, I have unlocked something that's really cool. So feel free to be flexible with yourself. That's my biggest point. Okay, so review. So we're at the review part. All right. So the someday maybe file, I look at that usually quarterly. All right. Now let's talk about the altitude of life. Can I do that really quickly?
Sure.
Because I find that it's a good analogy for us. Okay. 50,000 feet. When you're flying at 50,000 feet, think about it. You can see a lot of big pictures. All right. This is where I really encourage people to do annual goal planning for themselves. And if they have a significant others, together, it's a great relationship building thing. If for nothing else, you have an opportunity to say, what do you want out of life to who you care about? And are we walking the right direction? Are we happy? And if we're not, or we could do better, which everybody could do better, what can we do together that would make it better? That's what I would call a 50,000 foot conversation. You don't want to do that on the runway when you're in the middle of executing and you're trying to get things done for the day. That's a bad time to have that conversation because it's not time appropriate.
Yes.
So when are you going to pull back on the yoke, get above the fray, so to speak, and look out at where you're flying? That's what I want you to think about. So I do that at minimum annually. I really like every 6 months. All right. Now let's go down 10,000 feet. Your 3 to 5 year goal. All right. 40,000 feet. Where am I at 3 to 5 year goals? Then you go down with another meeting and say 20,000 feet. My 1 to 2 year goals. Just this year and next year. How am I doing? And then I'm down to 10,000 feet, which I would consider my current projects, currently what I've got going. And then the next thing would be I'm executing. I'm actually on the runway. I'm trying to figure out my day to day. Okay. So if you allow yourself to think about life in altitudes, okay, it will also spur thoughts that is like, you know what, man, I could do a better job of long-term goal setting. What would make me a better human long-term? Well, I should read more. Okay. Maybe I should get more education. Maybe I'd like to polish my sword on this idea or polish or sharpen my saw. I'd like to continue to get better at these tasks. 50,000 feet is when you get really honest. There's not a lot of oxygen up there. It'll kill you quick, right?
Yeah.
So you want to be really honest at 50,000 feet, right? You're brutally honest. You look at yourself, you meditate on what skills do I really have and where do I want to go with those skills to be a better human overall. All right. As you start going down in that, you get much more tactical. All right. So this is a good way for people to think, as far as that goes. So let me pause real quick. I've kind of went through collect, process, organize, review, and do. Of all of those, do you have any questions? What's the most kind of sketch for you right now?
I feel pretty good about it, especially knowing that like I can go back and anybody can re-listen to this, right? Like pause, yes, rewind. It's look, folks, it's here forever now. You have a diagram to follow along with as well. So I feel good about it. I do. It's not that I caught everything, but it's almost too much to process.
It is. Okay, I'm taking a 500-page book and I'm boiling it down in an hour.
Correct.
So,
Exactly.
Obviously. All right. So now let's think about this too. Does it feel logical?
No, it all makes total sense. It's really
good.
It's funny how complicated we want to make things because once again,
Yes.
we're so superior as human beings, right? We're so advanced. It doesn't. Why? Literally, you said
Machines?
put your family first, right?
Yes.
Schedule all the other nonsense around it. If that's what's important to you, then that's what you're going to do. I was just having the conversation with my wife earlier, and she's got weight loss goals and wants to get a personal trainer now and talk with a nutritionist and do all these things. And I was like, that's fine. I don't care. Go do it. If that's what makes you happy, you always sacrifice and you don't do enough for you. So I'm happy to support this. But, and she was like, well, he wants to change me from eating twice a day to 5 times a day. And I hardly have time to eat twice a day. I was like, you're going to schedule your life and make whatever's important to you the new way of life. So I was like, you're making excuses before you even start. Stop.
Or the system doesn't work for her.
Maybe not, and she can find a new trainer.
This is okay. So listen. This is the beautiful part about where we live right now in the world. We have a smorgasbord of opportunity. We can look at things and say, my current lifestyle, that probably won't work. I'm going to keep researching. But guess what that is? This is where I'm going to drag you in. This is a new someday maybe, or a new task or a new goal. And this is how, if you have a system of execution that you throw that sucker into, a machine, eventually on the other side, you're going to start getting these wonderful little packages of execution. That's what it is. Think of it like a machine that you have to manually crank sometimes, but the point is, at the other side, you get what you want out of life. And that's really what we're talking about. All right? But you can't do it unless you have a way to collect ideas, collect to-dos, organize them into something that's going to help you execute them, review them, make sure that you're on the right path, and then be diligent and disciplined about doing in the time that you have committed that you're going to do it. And that is the difference, my friend. That's the difference between being a regular employee and the president of a company. That literally is the only difference. It's that over time, my system wins because it makes me be able to execute more than the average bear. That's it. And by the way, if I were not with Laticrete, sorry, my dog barked. If I were not with Laticrete and I was solo and I had my own company, I would be thinking about the same thing. How do I kick my competitors' butts? The way I'm going to kick my competitors' butt is I'm going to be able to do more than them. How am I going to do more than them? I'm going to revive my system immediately. Matter of fact, I'll never be without it now. Now it's so flexible and so tunable. I could do any job. I could go anywhere, keep the same execution engine, and be successful over time. Because what we're trying to do is not manage one block of time. We're managing your entire freaking life. That's the point. This is you got to charge this idea with something which is better. And I'm going to make you a promise. Okay, this is the promise. Try it for 30, 60, 90 days, and then you compare your outcome at the end of 30, 60, and 90 compared to what you were doing before. And I am telling you, my hit with this among people who have taken these trainings and actually dug in and developed a system of execution is so high that I'm almost like an evangelist in a church telling people about it. This will literally change your life if you allow it to. You have too much stress in your life right now. You're not getting things done. You're dropping the ball a lot. These are all the world, the universe is telling you your system is not built for the lifestyle you're living. And you need to tune up. You need to tune your system. Think about it like a machine. Think about it like something that is bionic. You're making yourself bionic. You're giving yourself those opportunities to unlock the creativity that already lives inside of you, but you can't hear it because the noise is so high. Yeah. Most of what I do in life right now is tamp down the noise so I can get to peace, so that I can unlock a creative part of my brain. Once I can do that, I'm unstoppable.
Well, I feel that's that's higher functioning. I feel right. And so you're filtering out all the distractions to get to the stuff that matters, and you're processing it quickly. That's what matters. Right. Is I think a lot of, it's not just contractors, it's people in general.
It's humans.
I get a lot of input coming in, and I don't know how to deal with that. I don't know how to deal with that. It's fire after fire after fire, and they're not fires. Like you said, you get an email and how many, I'm guilty of it, I'll respond to that right now. Well, I didn't need to respond to it. It doesn't even involve me. I didn't have to have my say in that. I didn't have to do anything. Get it out of here. Just delete it.
And it feels so good. Deleting feels so good. That's why I'm like, on my email, okay, so since we've been on here, my email never stops. I got eight emails.
Jeez.
All right. Now I'm 2-8 because I swept at the end of the day before, because this is 6 o'clock my time now.
Yeah.
So I swept at the end of the day before my meeting with you, before we started this. I'm already at 8. By the time I wake up tomorrow, that'll be at 30 on average. And I know that when I start my sweep in the morning, I'll get it down to probably 5 or 6 actionable things. I'll throw those 5 or 6 in the system. It doesn't take me very long. And the rest of my day, you know what you get? I sit in meetings and I go like this. Talk to me. I'm with you. I'm with you right now. Let's execute on this idea right now. Okay? That is what my people deserve. My people deserve presence. Now, don't get me wrong. My people who are listening to this right now, they're probably screaming bullshit at the top of their lungs. No one is perfect. Okay, I want to be really clear here. No one is perfect. I fall off the wagon in times of high stress. I fall off the wagon.
Yeah.
And what happens is I have to go back and say, you have not been honoring your own system, dude. Get back in your system. And then I get back in my system, and then I feel like I'm accomplishing again. Everybody does. You will not execute this 100% of the time with perfection. You will not. So give yourself an out. But right now, today, you can do this one thing. You can open up your calendar and you can put a date and you can say, by Friday, I'm going to research and start David Allen's GTD. I'm going to figure out how to use it in my world. I'm going to make commitments. I'm going to do my first sweep. My first sweep is terrible. It's like
I'm sure
painful, because what happens is you sit down with a pen and you say, I want to dump everything out of my mind right now.
Yeah.
And you just let your pen flow. And it's like brain dump. You just let it go. Let it go. Don't stop. Keep writing, keep writing, keep writing. When you stop, get up, grab a coffee. Something with caffeine is always good. Vitamin B. Seriously, you want your mind working high. Oh, not high.
I got you.
You want your brain working when you're doing this. Give yourself 30-minute blocks, 2 or 3 in the beginning. Dump everything out, and then that's going to be the stuff that you start your system on. This is day 1, and the rest of your life starts after day 1. And then what's going to happen is, through the rest of that week, you're going to feel better and better, and you're going to start seeing things work. And you're going to be like, okay, I think this can work. I think this can work. I think this can work. Then you're going to have a bad day. And when you have a bad day, you're going to forget to do it. And then you're going to, oh, shit, I wanted to do this, and I didn't. And then you just do the same thing. You do a quick half-hour dump, and you pick the ball back right up where you dropped it. Don't stop. You pick it back up where you dropped it. And you might analyze. You might say, well, what made me fall off the wagon? What could I do better? Maybe my to-do thing isn't working the way I want it to. Maybe I need to research on how to do an electronic task list better. Or maybe I want to research Evernote and see what I can do there. I like things that ding, bing, and vibrate. If I can get things that can kind of go off in my pocket and say, hey, that's all the time you have for this conversation with Ken. You need to move on to the next thing. That's good for me. Yeah. Okay, because my mind works that way. And so I allow these things to have a little bit of governance in my life, consciously. And that's how my system works. Now, let's talk about I want to talk to the people who might have an assistant, or might have someone that can help, or a goal, or set a goal that one day you want to get to a point where you can hire a virtual assistant. By the way, you can hire a virtual assistant for nothing. Yeah, exactly. I think I have a friend who has a virtual assistant for like $300 a month. I know that sounds like a lot of money to a lot of people, but if you do this system well enough, you'll be able to afford it before you know it. I mean this like very seriously.
Yeah.
All right. the first things I do is teach them how I execute. All right. And I say, this is my system. This is how I work. And then I develop electronic tie-ins to all of my system at root level access. This is why you have to have serious trust.
Yes.
And I'm talking non-disclosure agreements. I'm talking the whole deal, guys. Seriously. This lady has root level access. She can literally schedule an appointment with my doctor for me and does regularly. All right. So why would I get there? Why would I want that? Okay. If Laticrete stopped paying her tomorrow, I couldn't afford her. But if Laticrete stopped paying her tomorrow, I would 100% be trying to work with her somehow. Why? What has that done for me? It's enabled me to take whole chunks of my organization system and delegate them to someone else.
Yes.
And that person's whole world is, I want this to work really well. Okay? And I am more than happy to see to it that she's happy in life. She's got everything she needs. She's my best bud. She makes it happen for me. And she has also a great filter, because I get approached by a lot of people asking for money.
Oh yeah,
continually,
I'm sure.
All day, every day. Salespeople on LinkedIn. I'm almost going to delete my LinkedIn account. It's really, really that bad. So she is great for a filter for me. Some guy from Cisco wants to call me up. Hey, I don't do those things. Could you get with Terry? And Terry will find out whether. She has a great little. Yeah, she's got a great little screen. She'll go, hey, what is this? Is this actionable? What are you trying to do? And she might say, the better person in the organization is to talk to so-and-so. Or she might say, you know what? I don't know. Let me get a hold of him. And then we have a correlation meeting every week, where she goes through and says, hey, what do you think about these things? And I say, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good. All right. Now, that's a luxury. Don't get me wrong. But I have a lot of birds in my nest with their little mouths open. And I need to make sure that I'm giving the appropriate amount of time to a lot of people. And when you get at such a complexity in an organization, you need help for that. And you definitely need someone that can help you. So there's what I do with my assistant. But without my assistant, I would still be looking at maximizing AI, meaning text expanders. Google it, find out what it is. You answer the same question for your clients over and over and over again. Why is it that you don't have a text expander that you say, oh, I've got dirty grout. Dear Jane, here's how you take care of dirty grout. Boom, text expander, the entire package. Send, done. 2 minutes, I executed excellent service. Automate with AI as much as you can. What I write, I use Grammarly, right? I write really fast. I don't try to think. I get my word salad in there. I throw it into Grammarly. AI tells me how to make it right. I read it again. I send it.
Yep. Okay.
I'm 25% faster. I can write faster, and it's more accurate. I use AI for that. Do I have to pay a couple pennies for it every month? Yes. $5 a month. Worth it. All right. So I start looking into things like, how can I automate this? How can I make it bing, ding, or buzz or vibrate?
Yes.
And then I go bionic, and that's what I do. And I do it as much as I can, as over and over and over again if I can.
Well, you're talking about, I mean, essentially you're systemizing everything, which systems make you effective. Okay. So now I can filter through everything faster, which has now freed up time. I'm not as distracted because everything's processed and I don't have to think about it. So I'm organized. And then I'm finding other ways to use technology to increase my speed. I may have to pay for something. And granted, look, I get that this show goes out to a lot of guys that are starting out. You're learning, okay? I was there. Sure. It wasn't that long ago. But what I've learned is that if I spend a couple of dollars on something to make my life better, whether it's a tool or a piece of equipment, right, that's more expensive, or somehow buying some software to be organized, like Ron's talking about buying Grammarly, like I'm writing articles for FCI magazine now. Maybe I should get I can write my article, I throw it in there. Maybe it'll help me sound a little bit better. So
100% it will. Right. It's awesome.
and so generally speaking, if you invest some money, the payout on the other end is better. People talk about the rich getting richer. It's because they find ways to save time by spending a little bit of money, but it ends up capitalizing on the back end to bring you bigger and bigger rewards. You can't hate the people that find a way to get ahead by maximizing their time. That's all they're doing. They didn't sit around and watch. Ron's not watching 8 hours of TV and binging a Netflix show with his wife on the weekends. Okay. It's not happening.
Although we do. Okay. So,
okay. I get it, but it's
we do
planned.
schedule that. Okay. So we shut down every year over the holidays. Mm-hmm. We binge something every year. But once again, it's not done loosely.
Correct.
It is planned, organized, thought out. We're thinking about where we're going. I know a lot of successful people. I know billionaires. I know people who are really successful. And I can tell you the one thing that every single one of them tells me, every single one, it's not about money. It's about freeing up life units. Okay. That's where you will never get Elon Musk to waste his time, because he knows he ain't getting any more of that. He can get as much money as you want. He can buy everything. He makes enough money to buy Miami. Okay. But it's not about that. Be careful what you buy, because the things that you buy will eventually own you if you're not careful. Okay. But the things that you can invest, that's the word, invest in that allow you to get more time, those are a 10x multiplier for you. 10x. All right. So to your point, the reason why I use this notebook, it's not because I like that the paper's acid free. It's not that I like the hardback, although I do. I like all those. It's because this is $20. When I had these notepads that were like 99 cents or 69 cents, just the little spiral bound ones, I wasn't like, that was in the beginning, it didn't excite me. But with this, I was like, I spent $20 on this. I'm going to, plus they are more durable, by the way. They definitely are more durable. And I can go into the reason why. Believe me, as you can imagine, I have a whole selection criteria for my tools, which I'm a little bit weird. I'm a little bit weird.
It's okay to be a diva.
It's the weirdness. Listen, it's the weirdness that winds up being the difference makers here. All right. So I know what I want exactly. I know this is a tornado pen. I know that it's exactly the right size to fit into this keeper. It's secure. I know that the length is right. I have extra backup and refill. I selected this. I know what I want. All right.
I love it.
Why? Because it's my system. This is the front line of my system. I don't mess around with that, man. This whole thing, this is the key to my life. All right. I'm trying to figure out a way to get a Apple AirTag built into one of these, just in case I lose it. I got all kinds of little plans.
Okay.
But anyway, my larger point is, you have too much stress in your life, welcome to the club. Everybody does. All right? Do something to change your life. This will change your life. It will. There's a reason why these companies like Franklin turned into huge corporations, because they were touching something in the world that is an actual truth. The more organization you have, the better your system is, the better your machine is, the more it's directly correlated to how successful you are. Directly. Discipline equals freedom. Period. No truer words have I ever discovered. And this is the first front row to really changing your life, in my opinion. Otherwise, don't get me wrong. I'm a creative person. My mom was a creative. They're messy. They're terribly messy people. They're all over the place. Creatives are all over the place. And so they say, that is my system. My system is disorganization.
Yeah, no.
I'm skeptical. Over time, I'm skeptical.
Well, I think if you're truly going to harness that creativity, then you're going to need to organize it.
Yep.
You're talking about everyone has stress. And so
yes.
you've been with Laticrete 17 years. You've worked your way up from being like local sales guy, if I remember correctly, and
sure.
now
yep.
president of North America. So you've developed a system over time to manage things and de-stress. You would think that the problems Ron had 17 years ago as basically local sales guy versus problems at president level are two different sets. Do you feel more stressed now, or are you better able to handle it because you have a better processing system, or is stress just stress across the board?
That's a great question. Stress registers the same feeling for me. Okay. So first of all, I don't think the feeling is different. It's just the targets have moved. Okay. I had a lot of fun as a sales rep. It was a great job. The wonderful thing about being a sales rep is it's very entrepreneurial. You are basically in control of your life in order to achieve that goal. And it's usually singleton, meaning it's on my shoulders. My actions equal a reward, usually. All right. So as you go up, you gain complexity because you're taking on more challenges for the wider organization. And some of those challenges are completely in your control, and some of them are not in your control. And so take things that are stressors for all business people. Pandemic sucked. Nobody liked that. I didn't like it either. It was a huge stressor, not in my control. It created a whole list, a myriad of things that we had to do to manage that. We did great. We did phenomenally. Why? Because we have these great systems that help us deal with chaos, right? All right. So the economy's now as the president of the company, I'm dealing with worldwide shortages of materials. I'm dealing with worldwide economies. As a local sales rep, I was subject to those, but I had great team people above me that were helping make right decisions that helped me keep my wheels on the ground. Now I'm responsible for making those decisions and living with those decisions on behalf of a lot of people. So that comes into it a real respect for what decisions you're making. And sometimes that does create stress. And because many cases in my life right now, I'm asked to pick between two bad decisions. And it's one is bad, it's like worse and worser. And I do this all the time. And I'm continually saying, okay, well, gosh, I'm going to make this decision that's going to piss off 2,800 people. I'm going to make this decision that's going to piss off 500 people. And I go, I got to pick the 500 and then deal with what the fallout is from that.
Okay.
And that's a very real situation. Sometimes there's just not a good universal answer.
Yes.
As I've also gone up, I've lost freedom of speech, and that's changed quite a bit. And that's just the truth of dealing with so many different people. You have to be very careful how to communicate, how you discuss things, what you intend versus what you actually said. That's actually another filter that I've had to put over myself, and that's a lot more difficult. I'm a person that speaks a lot in a lot of different ways, and it's easy to misunderstand what I say. So one of the disciplines I'm trying to build is communicate in a manner with which people cannot misunderstand you. That's a burden unto itself. But these are stresses that are they're definitely different than they are. And I'm not complaining. By the way, I don't want anybody to think about this complaining.
No. It's interesting you say that the stress is stress. Like it just registers to our body as it flatlines, right? It's the same. It doesn't matter what it is. It's more pressing, but that's also probably a different psychological issue of like, I need immediateness instead of like, I need to get this done in a week. So,
and one more thing I want to add kind of on the way out here, because I do have to go.
Okay.
I have a time commitment too.
I get it.
So there's one big thing here that I want to just leave as everybody. Don't skip philosophy class. Don't skip art class, and don't skip the new age hui of meditation. As you start to free yourself up, and as this creativity starts to pop in your mind, you need to be able to harness that creativity. Harnessing the creativity is where you have those next level thoughts, where you have those breakthrough ideas. Don't allow that to be sporadic. You need to be able to be self-aware. You need to be able to understand and recognize your feelings. You need to understand and recognize how you are presenting, and that requires some deep thought and meditation. I prefer Stoic philosophy. I love Stoic philosophy. I think that's great for every business person. I would point you towards the author Ryan Holiday for a lot of that stuff. I love all of his work. I also think that everybody needs to have an artistic outlet. I have opened up a whole new level of understanding in my life by re-engaging with my artistic side, and I'm finding a power in that I never knew existed. And so I would highly suggest that people try that. I don't care whether you can't finger paint, you're learning how to finger paint, try it. I promise you, if you create every day something, it feels so freaking good. I can't explain to you. And so there's that next thing.
Installing tile doesn't count, folks. If you're installing tile or flooring every day,
work.
Like that's work. You may be creative, but it's not. I can tell you that Ron and I took pictures of of each other at coverings, and me having a camera. I have a better camera now that was the new hot thing when I was in reality television and going to film school, and that's the camera I own now years later. I have better film equipment having that camera than I did back then, but just picking up that camera and being able to work with it and take pictures of my kids or be out at the show, and I spend an entire day just taking pictures. It was wonderful. He's not lying. Like, go relax, find time,
have fun,
do something. Yes,
have fun.
Go be a
play.
kid.
You've got to play. You've got to play, and this is how I play. And when I play, I like to make other people happy if possible, because that also makes me happy. So you don't overlook that part. And because when I do this training for people, I sound hardcore executor, hardcore. And a lot of what I do is, I'm in full disclosure.
Yeah, but you're doing it to get to the play.
That release valve. That's right. You got to have the release valve. You've got to build in the release valve. Reward yourself. Reward yourself for staying on task. Reward yourself. It's just, it's a way that you can stay on track and have a much happier and more well-rounded life, which is what I want for everybody. The reason why I'm spending time with you, Kyle, is I hope that one person that's listened to this has said, you know what, man, I'm going to try something different. And then they have a better life because of it.
Oh, you've already
we have so many small conversations. We have so many small conversations that don't mean shit 5 minutes after you've had them. This conversation, if you really are listening, or at least the intent of why I'm participating here, okay, is that this might be the time that you change your trajectory in life. And if I can have a tiny little part of that to nudge you in that direction, I'm good. That's my payday. That's why I do this crap. Okay. So,
and that's why this show is here, right? If I needed it, other people needed it. If I can nudge you to help better this industry, better your life, I'm content. I don't even need to know. I'd like to know, but I don't need to know. The industry will show me down the road that things are happening. So that's it. Let's get out there. Let's share. Let's get creative. Let's play. Let's have fun. Let's be organized so that we can go do the fun things more often. Don't own a job. Let's own an asset so that we can go play and be creative more.
Damn right. Awesome.
Well, awesome.
You,
thank you.
Me, maybe a little bit of my friends. We can change the world. It's not that big a deal.
No,
it's not that big a deal. We can do it.
Yes, we can. You have some questions to answer on Facebook when you get a minute. You're tagged. Okay. There's lots of people that were commenting. I don't like to read the comments out during the thing. It's just very distracting and
that's okay.
And stops
I would rather go back through and if you tag me in it, I'll get it. I'll get it tonight. I got some time. It'll be great.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. I think we've summed it up. We've wrapped it up, folks. I will get in the show notes the link to the PDF from the book. And go check out flooracademypod.com to find other, what do I got over there? I got my business budget calculator. We've got things to help you organize for insurance purposes, profit margin calculator stuff. I got lots of awesome tools over there. Go over there, check them out. You can do it. If you want to help support the show because it's helping you grow your business, patreon.com/Floor Academy, $5 a month can go a really long way in helping me continue to produce this content. Or head over, if you're at the website, go to the store, pick up a shirt, a hoodie, a fanny pack. I'd love to see people walking around with fanny packs at some of the shows. It would make me, I would just giggle. So that's what I got. Ron, thank you again. I appreciate your time as always. Great insights, and I know we will talk in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye.